Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live streaming video on the Town of Oakville's live stream page at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consents held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind the intent of this process is to review the application that is before the committee, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may exist between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for a deferral is made and the committee grants such a request, the applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct an effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have adopted the following process. If you are watching the live stream of this hearing on oakville.ca and you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, that's 905-815-6095. The phone number is also posted on your screen below the live stream at oakville.ca. Staff will be standing by to take your call. When you do call, staff will ask for your name, item number that you wish to address, and your telephone number. Further instructions will be provided to you to call back to join the video conference. When the chair of the committee polls for interested parties, you'll have to press *6 to unmute yourself. The applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to briefly explain to the committee the basis of the application and answer any questions that may arise. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for each presentation. You will need to state your full name and address for the record. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their full name and address for the record. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided to make your presentation. All remarks and questions are to be directed to the chair. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. The applicant or agent will then be provided a further 5 minutes to respond to comments made by interested parties, answer any questions that may arise. If the applicant or agent has any concerns found in the staff report, particularly with the proposed conditions, this will be the opportunity to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision, and this will mark the end of all discussion. Any person desiring a notice of the decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary Treasurer. Written notices of the committee's decision will be mailed no later than 10 days for minor variance and 15 days for consent application. To the applicant, agent, and any other person who has filed a written request for such notice. The last day to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal will be noted on the decision. Please note that only the applicant, specified persons, or public bodies may appeal the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In November 2022, Bill 23 legislation, the More Homes Built Faster Act, amended the Planning Act to remove appeal rights for members of the public. If no appeal is received within the prescribed timeframe, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding. The Secretary Treasurer will then notify the applicant and any other person who has received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. People participating in this hearing are to be courteous to and respectful to the members of the committee, town staff, and any other person participating in this electronic hearing. Again, tonight's electronic hearing is being video recorded and available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. I see no regrets this evening. Declarations of any peculiar interest. I see none. Requests for a deferral or withdrawal of applications. Madam Secretary Treasurer, if anyone has their hands up.
We're showing no hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, very well. We have no consents this evening. The first matter before the committee is application 151 of 2025 at 398 Tennyson Drive. Again, that's application 151 of 2025 at 398 Tennyson Drive. I have Michelle Starr here as the agent.
One moment, just moving Michelle Starr into the meeting.
Very well, thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome, thank you very much. Good evening, committee. My name is Michelle Starr. I'm from Deanley on behalf of the owner. We are back before committee for a renewal of the application that was previously approved by committee in August of 2023. There have been no changes to the requested variances, so we're still asking for an increase to the maximum total floor area for the private garage to 67.62 meters squared. We're also asking for an increase to the maximum residential floor area ratio to 45.29%, and also to reduce the minimum front yard to 10.40 meters. As you can see on the screen, I provided as part of my presentation just the overall site plan. We have revised the front east elevation with very minor changes to the window sizes and provided the same design of the roof that is similar to both houses that have already been built on either side of our property. We advise that the building permit is still in review. It's almost complete, and we just require a demolition permit. And there is currently a tenant living on the premise. We are requesting another 2-year timeframe in order to allow the owner to obtain the building permit and find a builder to assist with the development. We have read staff comments and agree, and we feel the proposal is minor in nature, is very in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is extremely desirable for the surrounding neighborhood, given now that we've even changed the roof scheme to match both of the houses on either side.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Starr. Are there any questions or items of clarification of Ms. Starr at this time? Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and we have no hands.
Okay, very well. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having undertaken my site visit, having reviewed the materials, and having heard the applicant's comments here, I'm satisfied that the requested variances conform to the test of the Act accordingly. I will put forward a motion of approval. That motion of approval will be subject to 2 conditions, those being that the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the elevation drawings dated November, 2022, subject to the removal of the roof dormers, and site plan dated May 23rd, 2023, to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development, and that the approval will expire within 2 years of the date of the decision if a permit has not been issued.
Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Is there discussion on this recommendation? Okay, I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Good evening. Okay, application 153 of 2025 at 134 Woodhaven Park Drive. Again, that's application 153 of 2025 at 134 Woodhaven Park Drive. I have Mr. Marco Rezzolini as the agent.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Marco Razzolini. I am from Sakura Design Inc., and I'm representing the application.
Very well, go ahead, Mr. Rezzolini.
I submitted a presentation. I'm wondering if we could bring that up.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the application is to allow for, there was one that was, there it is. Okay, so the application is to allow for 2 variances including an increase in RFA percentage from 37 to 38.47%, and an increase in coverage from 25% to 29.32%. The proposal is to build a new two-story single detached dwelling in place of the existing dwelling. The home will be occupied by our clients, the owners, Issam and Dania, their 3 children, as well as their mother and her full-time caretaker. A big part of the design and reason for the variances was trying to find enough space and in a conscious way to accommodate all 7 full-time people that will be living here, as well as accessibility, design for accessibility, which is a real need for the family. Jumping into the presentation, the subject site is located in the Coronation Park neighborhood. The subject property is highlighted with the gold star on the image on the screen. If we could go to the next page. This is just showing a little bit more zoomed in on the property. The subject site is fairly rectangular in shape and is surrounded by a mix of original built single stories and mid-century homes. There are more recently renovated 2-story contemporary homes that have been built in a variety of styles and different sizes. If we could go to the next slide. So this is showing a few of the recent additions to the neighborhood, all of these being 2 stories, again, in a mix of styles. The top 3 images are all in the immediate vicinity. The top left is directly beside, and the top, middle, and right are located directly across the street. These images are also from Google. They're a few years old, so there are more and more recent new builds that are in the neighborhood. But this is to show that the neighborhood is evolving like many areas in Southwest Oakville. If we could go to the next slide. Our approach with the design is a bit different than some of those images that we saw on the previous page. The clients are looking for something that leans a little bit more modern. And with that, we did try to draw some of the character for our proposed design from the original built context of the neighborhood. And a lot of these houses were built predominantly with asymmetrical design, a mix of materials including brick and siding, some cases natural stone, corner and offset window design, built-in landscape features, strong horizontal lines, interesting offset door location, multiple steps to the facade. So, a lot of form with them. If we could go to the next slide. This is a render of our front elevation. Again, we've tried to include some of those things that I've just highlighted, the asymmetry, the mix of brick and siding, the corner and offset windows, built-in planters, horizontal lines, a lot of stepping to the facade. And this is to say that we are trying to respect the established scale, height, rhythm, and overall design of the surrounding homes in the neighborhood that the Livable Oakville Plan and low density section really pushes. By doing this, we're hoping that the architectural style and massing of the proposed house, although we're asking for a little bit more space, still ties in very well with the built neighborhood. Speaking to massing, we did pay attention to the existing fabric. The house to the left and left side of this image is an original single-story bungalow. What we've done is we proposed the single-story mass on this side, and then on the right side of this image, is one of those newer 2-story dwellings, and we've sort of shifted the massing to the center and right in order to create a bit of a transition between the old and the new from a streetscape perspective. At least, aside from the shifting of that proposed massing to offset RFA, we are including many step backs in the facade. Again, from left to right, there's a lot of articulation in the design. 1-story massing on the left side, and then back to 1-story on the right side with the garage, step backs above the garage, step backs above that office, and then even above the garage, we've cladded part of the facade with a vertical dark wood siding to also help that recede a little bit further from your focus. It's also worth noting that we're not building to either setback. If we go to the next page, this shows that the second floor is shown in blue here. So you can see we're not directly above the first floor. First floor is shown with that thick black outline and that medium gray shade. Our setbacks are shown with the red dash lines that go up the side. A lot of articulation to the building envelope, and then our property lines further on the outside of that, and then the neighboring subject properties beside that. If we go to the next page, the second variance that we're asking for, in addition to the RFA, is for building coverage. This is entirely due to the rear porch. The reason for this is We're looking to add an additional 2 bedrooms. Again, there's going to be 7 people who are living here full time. Part of that square footage we were thinking makes sense to go underneath the porch in the underground space, which it puts the porch into the coverage calculation. The house as it stands on its own conforms with building coverage. So it's just that back porch area. And then again, thinking about massing and building form, that porch and 1-story mass is positioned in the center of the lot, away from both properties. And there's a pretty significant setback on the left side of this image and right side of this image. And then final slide is just additional 3D images that we've put together. Other notes about the proposal, we do have 3 letters of support, including one from one of the direct neighbors. As was noted in the correspondence with planning, we did meet with them prior to submitting the application. They had some recommendations about landscaping, which we resolved, some clarifications about our stats. So it sounds like they're in support of the application. We feel that it's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood, and we feel that it meets the 4 tests in order to be approved today. I'll leave it at that and happy to answer any questions or hear feedback from the neighbors.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Razzolini. Any questions or items of clarification of the applicant at this time? Okay, I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary?
We've had no calls and no hands showing.
Very well. Okay, so then we're ready to move a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, in 20 plus years of sitting on this committee, I'm not sure I've heard a better explanation of the thought process and care that went into trying to make this dwelling compatible with the houses on either side of it. And in so doing, proving that compatible does not mean the same as. Madam Chair, I would be happy to move approval of this application as applied for, finding that it meets the test of Planning Act. I do not see any impact from the variances. I would note that there are 3 letters of support from the community, and I would make that approval subject to the dwelling being constructed in general accordance with the site plan and elevations dated October 3rd, 2025, and that the variance expires if the building permit hasn't issued within 2 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Talowski. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? See none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Have a good night. Okay, application 154 of 2025 at 259 Tennyson Drive. I have Mr. Raphael Martins as the agent. Again, that's application 154 of 2025 at 459 Tennyson Drive.
Yes, hello.
Hello, go ahead, Mr. Martins.
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Raphael Martins from RDA Designs. My address is Unit 213-9280 Gorway Drive in Brampton. And I'm here today to represent the homeowner, Mr. Jatin Chopra. And thank you for the opportunity to present our application. Yeah, this is just a cover page. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is just an overview of the slides and the topics we'll be going over tonight. First is the context of the existing conditions of the property. Second is the requested variances for approval, human and accessibility needs of the client, household size and functionality, additional dwelling unit in the basement. I'll go over the community benefits and addressing city concerns, and then lastly, the conclusion and ask. Next slide, please. So for context and existing conditions, the property is in a neighborhood with a mix of 1- and 2-story homes, many of which are newer builds that have received similar variances. The adjacent properties are 1-story dwellings, and the site is designated as a low-density residential under the official plan. Importantly, the existing dwellings sit further back than the zoning standard minimum. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this pertains to one of the variances we are applying for approval. Next slide, please. So there are 2 variances. First is an increase in residential floor area from 41% to 50.11%. This represents about 63.5 meters squared or 683.8 square feet, which you can say is 341 square feet per floor, if you want to think about it that way. And the second variance is a front yard setback reduction to 7.5 meters, which is consistent with the zoning standard. However, the proposed dwelling is also, so the front wall of the proposed dwelling is 0.37 meters forward, so closer to the street from the existing home. It's just that the porch protrudes further towards the front, and that is the only element that does not meet the zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. So I want to show a little site plan of the property. So as you see from the thicker shaded outline, that is the proposed dwelling. Inside that shaded outline, you can find the existing detached dwelling, which is to be demolished. And you can see that the front wall of the proposed dwelling is a little bit further from the main wall of the existing dwelling on the property. It's just that the front porch is sticking out a little bit further from the proposed main wall. Next slide, please. I wanted to go over the human and accessibility needs of the client. So these requests are not driven by luxury, but by compassion and necessity. Mr. Chopra, who is the applicant, he has an elderly father that is battling cancer and requires a main floor bedroom and full bathroom, along with adequate space for medical equipment. The proposed design supports aging in place, accessibility, and inclusive housing principles for Mr. Chopra to better support his family. The main goal is to create a safe, dignified environment for a family member in need. Next slide, please. I want to go over to the household and the functionality as well. So the household includes 6 permanent residents with an occasional extended family, bringing the total to 8 in total. The proposed design also consists of a 4-bedroom and 4-bathroom on the second floor, which is consistent with neighborhood norms. And a larger household does require more functional space to live safely and comfortably to accommodate the 6 to 8 people that will be living on the property. Next slide, please. I wanted to address the city concerns. On massing and scale, the proposal fully complies with lot coverage and maximum height regulations, which are two big factors when talking about massing and scale. I would also like to emphasize that the concern is not the length, width, or height. In other words, the shell of the house, since we meet lot coverage and height regulations, but it's the usable square footage or floor space within the house shell, which will not have an impact on the allowed mass and scale of the home. I hope everyone is understanding my point there. Regarding the setback, aligning with the zoning standard improves emergency access and provides safer, shorter driveway for winter clearance and ensures faster response times for medical emergencies. Again, our request simply seeks to align with the zoning standard rather than being bound by the stricter reference point of the current dwelling, which we are demolishing to build a new house. And the last point regarding neighborhood character, the orientation to the street is maintained and the design enhances curb appeal. And we're also providing an additional dwelling unit in the basement of the home, which adds diversity and livability of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Some community benefits is that the proposal contributes positively to the community. It has a high quality design and landscaping, and it will uplift the streetscape. Property value investment raises neighborhood desirability, and accessibility features will benefit both the current and the future residents of the house. Also, the basement ADU adds to the housing supply, which supports provincial goals. And importantly, there is no public opposition. From what we've been told, there's no letters against the proposal in the application. Next slide, please. In conclusion, these variances are minor when balanced against accessibility needs, family functionality, and broader housing policy objectives. The proposal aligns with Oakville's planning goals of livability, inclusivity, and housing supply. We respectfully request the committee approval for the residential floor area increase to 50.11% and a front yard setback reduction to 7.5 meters. Thank you for your time and consideration. I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Martins. Okay, let's open the floor. Questions? Items of clarification? Mr. Tawalski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, at the risk of sounding insensitive to the situation with the family, your explanation for 650 additional square feet was essentially for medical reasons, extra space, accessibility, ground floor bedroom. I see none of this on the site plans that I'm looking at. And there seems to be a significant amount of space in this design that's not in any way attributable to those specific needs. So can you help explain that a little better to me? Maybe I'm missing something.
Sure, yeah.
The drawings, but 650 square feet, that's significant additional space. And it would appear to me that despite the functionality of the house, there's really been no attempt to try to mask the massing that's involved here.
Yeah, sure. I can answer that question. So the elderly father of the applicant is currently going through surgeries and such to fight the cancer, right? His bed is a medical type bed, which has like all the medical equipment connected to, and he needs to be moved in and out of the house on that bed most of the time. So we need a bigger hallway, a large room as well with a washroom on the main floor, which increases the square footage of the home a little bit more than the comparables in the neighborhood.
Any other questions? Items of clarification?
Madam Chair, maybe just to follow up, the second part of my question was why was there no attempt made to try to mitigate the mass of what you're proposing in terms of, bringing the roof line down on the second floor, making the second floor smaller than the first floor, design factors like that?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can answer that question. So in the backyard, there is some attempts to reduce the overall area on the second floor by moving some walls in and out from the exterior boundary of the main floor. There is some attempts of that, but the concern wasn't regarding the scale of the house. It was more of the usable square footage within the house shell. That is part of the variance that we're applying for, which is the residential floor area, which only pertains to the interior floor space of the dwelling and not the exterior scale and size of the home. But there is attempts to reduce the second floor mass in the backyard and a little bit on the side of the house, over the garage and over the back right corner of the house on the second floor. Not sure if you have those plans in front of you.
You can't see that from the facade. That I think that's the point.
Oh yeah, from the
there
facade,
is no
yeah.
there is no attempt to break down that square block in the front. Anything further, Mr. Talski? No. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls. I did notice that one of our planners on staff has her
Oh,
hand up.
yes, I see Miss McPhail. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention that the application that was submitted was not to implement an additional dwelling unit. When the applicant or their agent is referencing a bedroom on the main floor, as Member Tulowski mentioned, there's no reference to that as a bedroom. It's referenced as a den. The additional dwelling unit that's being referred to in the basement is not an actual additional dwelling unit, as there is access to the remaining portions of the basement, and there's no evidence of separate mechanical facilities for two separate units. And so building staff, zoning staff have reviewed the application, and staff have reviewed the application based on it being a detached dwelling. And that's why staff is not supportive of the application. If it was the intent of the applicant to make this a dwelling with an additional dwelling unit, then they should have applied as such.
Yep, thank you for that clarification. Any questions or comments from Ms. McPhail before we take the matter into committee?
Could I respond to that?
Yeah, I'll give you a second. I just want to see if any of the committee members have any follow-up questions of Ms. McPhail. Okay, I see none. Go ahead, Mr. Martins.
Yeah, so regarding the ADU in the basement, it is designed for an additional dwelling unit. There is a door that is between the units to still have access from one side to the other, but it is designed to have a separate ADU because it has a separate kitchen, separate bathroom, separate laundry, and the mechanical room will be designed as large enough to accommodate two furnaces, one for the main dwelling and one for the ADU in the basement. To answer the comment about the bedroom on the main floor, I'm just opening the plan right here. It is labeled a den, but I can adjust that during the building permit stage to change that to a bedroom. It's just the wording.
Do you have ramp access in the front to the main floor?
There is a two-step height difference from the grade to the top of the porch.
And that's accessible enough for a bed to be coming in and out with?
The owner can add some sort of ramp as well, or something in the garage. It is a two-car garage with a large door, access from the garage to the interior of the house. They can add some sort of ramp on the interior of the garage to accommodate accessibility as well. Yeah, we made sure the house wouldn't be as high or too high from the grade level to accommodate a ramp in the future.
So there's 4 bedrooms on the top and 1 bedroom on the bottom, and then you've got the additional space in the basement. And you said that there's going to be between 6 to 8 people at any time living in the home. So is there really the intention of having a separate dwelling unit, or is that to really accommodate family members?
No, that would not be for family members. That would be for a potential tenant in the future to help accommodate like the mortgage and financial stress on the family, to ease that stress on the family.
Okay. Ms. McPhail?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out that if a ramp is included in the garage, that it may affect the size of the parking spaces contained therein. Again, just because the application was not submitted as an additional dwelling unit to facilitate an additional dwelling unit, I think the committee should satisfy themselves in how they make their decision.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, why didn't you take the opportunity to have a consultation with staff, given all the reservations? You may have had a better outcome than where we're at right now.
Well, again, we thought it wouldn't have come to this extent of a variance, right? The owner wanted to push, wants to have this be possible, right? So we had a few changes back and forth with the client to get what he wanted. So we weren't 100% sure that this would get approved, but he wanted to give it a try. But yes, we could have reached out to the city to come to a conclusion of what would be possible as like a more reasonable approach. Then I understand that 10% or 9.11% is quite high of a difference between the regulation of 41%. But again, the shell of the house is not a concern. It's more of the usable square footage within the home, which won't increase to the massing and the scale of the house. If the front yard setback is a concern, we can push the house back farther back to accommodate that as well. But yeah, that is my answer.
Okay, thank you. Any questions before we take that matter into committee and have a discussion? Okay, I see none. Okay, we'll take the matter into committee. Who would like to start the discussion? Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have great reservations about this application. I listened carefully to the presentation, the response to my questions. Unfortunately, I see nothing in the application before me that implements the needs that the applicant is suggesting need to be implemented. And I'm concerned that if they were to do that, to widen doorways, add ramps, change rooms, that I'm concerned the application could actually get a building permit in substantial accordance with the drawings that are in front of the committee right now. But that's a functional issue and a potential procedural problem. But Madam Chair, with the variances themselves that the committee is being asked to look at, this is a house of a substantial size, a significant 650 square foot variance request, a front yard variance that, while it's only the porch, it's a very imposing porch. As I said in my questioning, Madam Chair, I see no attempt to mitigate the impact of the size of this building. The applicant keeps saying the envelope's not a concern. I'm going to argue with that. I believe the envelope is a significant concern. And as a result, what's before the committee does not meet the official plan design guidelines. It's not minor. It doesn't meet the intent of the bylaw, and in no way can I find this to be desirable. As you said, Madam Chair, unfortunate the applicant didn't take the opportunity to seek a deferral and speak with staff, but they chose to proceed. I with all that I said, Madam Chair, I'm going to move that this application be denied.
Okay, is there a discussion on this recommendation? Mr. Dickey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with that aspect of denying the application. When I look at this and I see a two-story front window on the elevations, that adds to the mass scale. It is already a very large house that we proposed. I also note that on both sides of the property is one-story houses, and from my look or understanding of the front elevation, I don't see any element of transition to from the two-story house that's proposed to the one-story houses on both sides of this property. So I would agree with the motion to deny. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Any further comments? Yeah, okay. So the motion before us is to deny the application that is before us. It does not meet the 4 tests. All those in support? Okay. So the application has been denied. Mr. Martin, I urge you to, before you come before us again, to take the opportunity to discuss with staff and rather than just roll the dice prior to your next application. Yes, go ahead.
Is it possible to ask for a deferral in order to with the city staff to come to a conclusion?
We've already moved the motion. It's too late now. You had an opportunity to do so in the beginning, and you could have done that in the beginning, but not after we've moved the motion and it's been denied.
Okay.
So you're going to have to resubmit. And that's why we asked you the question, why didn't you take the opportunity to discuss it further? And that at that point in time, you could have asked for a deferral, but you didn't. So now it's too late, unfortunately.
Okay.
All right. We wish your client the best and have a good evening.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Hey. Okay, application 155 at 50 Burnett Street. Again, it's application 155 of 2025 at 50 Burnett Street. I have Mr. Matthew Fraterngelli as the agent.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, and members of the committee as well. My name is Matthew Fraterngelli from 10 House Building Workshop. I'm the agent for the owners of 50 Burnett Street. My address is 107 Gladstone Avenue in Hamilton, Ontario. Before I begin, I'd like to note that we have received 2 letters of support, including one from the direct side yard neighbor, as well as clearance from Conservation Halton. These are included at the end of our presentation. Next slide, please. Overview of the proposal. The application requests approval for a modest front porch, a rear porch, and a 2-story rear addition, along with 3 related variances. Flankage yard reduction from 3.5 meters to 1.84 meters. Floor area ratio increase from 42% to 48.4%, and a lot coverage increase from 35% to 36%. These numbers are modest, but more importantly, the design itself ensures the proposal remains compatible with the neighborhood. Next slide, please. To touch on each component of the design, the 1-story front porch along with the proposed bay window enhances curb appeal by highlighting the entry, providing shelter and adding architectural interest. The rear porch improves outdoor living, while the 2-story rear addition adds functional interior space and enhances overall home usability. All elements are designed cohesively, maintaining a well-scaled appearance. Next slide, please. Looking at the proposed design components from a massing and articulation perspective, the front and rear porches add important facade articulation that helps break up the massing of the house. The rear addition is stepped back 2.22 meters from the existing flankage wall and kept well below the permitted height, which staff have confirmed significantly reduces the perceived massing and improves the current shear wall condition along Wilson Street. Overall, these design elements strengthen neighborhood fit and align with the town's guidelines for stable residential areas. Next slide, please. Variance number 1, the bylaw requires a 3.5 meter flankage setback to preserve separation, openness, and the corner lot pattern. We're requesting a reduction to 1.84 meters to allow the rear addition to align with the existing floor plan. A full 3.5 meter setback would create inefficient, unusable interior space. This minor reduction achieves functional addition while maintaining streetscape presence. Next slide, please. Variance number 2, the permitted floor area ratio of 42% regulates overall building size in proportion to the lot and neighborhood. We propose increasing to 48.4% to accommodate a functional rear addition. Staying within 42% will significantly constrain interior layouts, whereas the modest increase ensures a proportionate and well-designed addition. Next slide, please. Variance 3 for lot coverage is capped at 35% to limit building footprint size. The proposed 36% is minor and primarily accommodates the rear covered porch while still preserving ample open space on the lot. Next slide. To summarize the town staff and planning opinion, staff confirmed that all variants meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. They found no adverse impacts, including no concerns regarding privacy, overlook, shadowing, or drainage. Staff specifically noted the following positive design elements: the 2.22 meter step back of the rear addition wall, reducing perceived massing, the 6.5 meter height, far below the 9 meter permitted, porch articulation, which improves the existing shear wall condition, overall compatibility with the neighborhood character. Staff fully support the application, and I would agree with their conclusions. Next slide, please. To address the 4 tests, we'd start with the official plan. Next slide, please. The proposal represents modest, context-sensitive reinvestment in a stable neighborhood. It aligns with the official plan policies requiring compatibility through a stepped-back addition, 1-story porches, articulated facades, height well below the permitted maximum. It preserves privacy, light, openness, while reinforcing the streetscape rhythm. We believe the proposal clearly aligns with the intent of the official plan. Next slide, please. The next test of the zoning bylaw intent. Next slide. The design maintains appropriate scale and massing through a low building height, stepped back wall on the flankage side from the existing flankage wall, articulated facades. Even with small numerical increases, the intent of the zoning bylaw is upheld by compatibility and preserving corner lot openness. Next slide, please. Test 3 is the proposal minor in nature. Next slide. The increases are minimal, 1% of lot coverage, 6.4% floor area ratio. There are no negative impacts, and the massing reduction strengthen the minor nature of the request. Overall, the variances are small, well mitigated, and meet the requirements of the minor in nature test. Next slide, please. Appropriate and desirable, the 4th test. Next slide. The proposal improves long-term livability, enhances neighborhood character through porches, articulation, and a sensitive addition that is fully compatible with adjacent homes. Staff confirmed it will have no undue adverse effects. Next slide, please. We just wanted to touch on the urban design guidelines for stable residential communities. Our proposal respects the existing facade rhythm and lot pattern. The porches and softened massing enhance the streetscape, and the corner lot design improves articulation on both street fronts. The 2.22 meter step back from the existing flankage wall removes the previous shear wall condition. The height remains well below the maximum, and the articulated facades and porches help break up the massing while maintaining openness. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the proposal is modest and well designed. Planning staff support the application. All 4 tests of the Planning Act are satisfied. The design aligns with both the official plan and the livable Oakville design guidelines. There are no undue adverse impacts, and the proposal enhances the character of the neighborhood. For these reasons, I respectfully request the committee to approve the applications so the owner may move forward with their exciting plans for expansion and settle into their new home. Thank you. And just the next couple pages here will show the conservation halting clearance as well as the 2 letters of support. And defer to the committee for any questions.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions or items of clarification of the agent at this time? Okay, I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and no hands.
Very well. Let's take a motion. Go ahead, Ms. Price.
Based on my site visit, the agent's presentation, the reports by the agent and staff, I believe the variants are minor in nature and are keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The front and rear covered porches and the 2-story rear addition have been designed to mitigate massing and scale impacts and do not cause an undue adverse impact on the budding properties. There have been no letters of opposition and 2 letters of support. In conclusion, I recommend the application be approved subject to the following conditions. I'm just wondering, do we say the dwelling or do we say the proposed additions?
That's Mr. O'Hare's domain.
Okay, is that right?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thank you, Member Price, for the question. Staff are amenable to amending the condition to mention the addition as opposed to the new dwelling. So staff have no concerns if you were to revise the first condition to state the 2-story addition. And we can also include the covered porches as well if we wanted to include that. But you can say the proposed additions, plural as well, which will help cover that.
Okay, I'll see. Okay.
So it's the additions, including the covered porch and
3, Madam Chair, the new 2-story addition as well. So there's the front covered porch, the rear covered porch, and the rear 2-story addition are the 3 components of this application.
Okay.
So can I see just the proposed additions, or you want me to state them individually?
3, Madam Chair, if you were to state them individually, I think that would be probably the most clear and concise. To mention the front covered porch, the rear covered porch, and the rear 2-story addition.
Okay, front covered porch, 2-story addition, and rear porch. Is that right?
Yep, 3, Madam Chair, yes, that's correct. Yeah, front covered porch, rear covered porch, and rear 2-story addition.
Front covered porch, rear covered porch, and rear 2-story addition. Mr. Fratangeli, you have your hand up. You have a concern about that?
No, that all sounds great. I just did want to add, if it does matter to the committee, that the bay window would also be an exterior feature and expanding the footprint, and maybe that should be added.
3, Madam Chair, to the applicant's question, that those components are covered through in general accordance with the elevation drawings, which is the continuation of the first condition after stating the front covered porch, the rear covered porch, and the rear 2-story addition be constructed in general accordance with elevation drawings. So in my professional opinion, the information about the bay window doesn't have to be included within the condition itself.
Okay. Okay, so I say the covered porch, the rear covered porch, the 2-story rear addition be constructed in general accordance with submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated September 30th, 2025, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if the building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
All right, thank you. Is there discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you,
Thank
committee.
you.
Great evening.
Have a good evening. Okay, application 156 of 2025 at 2855 Portland Drive. Again, that's application 156 of 2025 at 2855 Portland Drive. I have Mr. Thomas Gluck as the agent. Go ahead, Mr. Gluck.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I've chosen not to include a presentation because the request is so simple. We are talking about a minor technicality of a 3-meter landscape strip in the back of a loading area of an industrial building between two industrial buildings where the loading zones intersect. We have a favorable staff report. We have a letter of support from the neighbor immediately to the north. I would simply like to ask the committee to approve the application. Any questions, please go ahead.
Very well, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Gluck regarding this presentation, this application? Okay, I see none. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After undertaking my site visit and reviewing the materials, including the written staff report, the submitted drawings, and having heard the comments from the agent for the owner, I am satisfied that the requested variance conforms to the four tests of the Act. I will put forward a motion of approval subject to 3 conditions. Those being that the surface parking area be permitted in general accordance with the submitted site plan, revision number 11, dated October 15th, 2025, to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development, that the owner receives approval of a note to file for site plan, SP.1402.68/01, and that the approval will expire within 2 years of the date of the decision if a permit has not been issued.
Yeah, well, thank you. Is there discussion on this recommendation? All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Have a good night.
Good evening.
Okay, application 157 of 2025 at 137 Dorney Road. Again, that's application 157 of 2025 at 137 Dorney Road. I have Mr. William Hicks as the agent. Good evening. Go ahead, Mr. Hicks.
Good evening. My name is William Hicks, W.R. Hicks Design, Inc., 905 Sangster Avenue in Mississauga. So there is a presentation. I'll try and go through it fairly quickly. This is an application that was previously heard by the committee for an approval. I don't know if they can put that presentation up, but this was, if we go to the second page of this, so the previous application approved a increase in gross floor area of from 29 to 31.77%. That was supported by planning and it was supported by the neighbors. Since that point in time, this seems to be an evening where people are talking about the needs of the elderly. The owner's father, and there is a note to the file, has been required to use a wheelchair. The father does live with the family. As a result, we did not want to increase the gross floor area of the building at all. It meets the needs of that individual. But what we had to do is increase the width of the garage, which is the one-story portion towards the top of that drawing. And if we go to the main floor plan, the reason for that, which I believe is 2 drawings, we'll carry on past that one, and I'll stop on that one just for a second. So the addition all relates to the increase in size of about just under 3 feet to the width of the garage, which you'll see on the bottom part of that drawing is the one-story portion of the building. And if we go to the main floor, you'll see in there that the width of the garage is increased by just under 3 feet. It's allowing a ramp, which you'll see at the back of the 3rd car garage. And it also allows more space for the individual to get out of the car and into a wheelchair. So we're increasing the width of the individual spaces at the front of the garage. So as a result of that, there's no other changes to the floor plan, no changes to the 2nd floor plan. Those have all remained as they are. We can go to the, let's carry on to the next drawing quickly. And those are from the previous submissions. That's the house that was there. 2nd floor, just showing that nothing has changed there. The 2nd floor has been kept pulled back from the extended width of the garage. So, and then if we go to the rendering, that's the main floor elevation, just showing the increase in width to it. No real change to the back of the house or the side of the house that faces the neighbor. And we just stop on that. So what we've done is we've increased the garage from 56 meters squared to 63.97 meters squared. So we are over by about 7-8 square meters, or less than 100 square feet, and that relates to the wheelchair accessibility. As a result of that increase in width, we've require a side yard variance of 3.03 meters versus 4.2 meters. The existing house is 2.39 meters, and actually the setback on the other side from our previous application, we had increased to 5 meters. So if we add the two together, we're at 8.03 versus 8.4, so roughly a 1 foot difference. And because of the change in the garage, we had to increase the coverage from just under 25% to 25.37%. And again, all of these changes relate simply to the width of the garage. The house impact from the street has not really changed. The 1-story section, which is to the right of that drawing, has been extended in width and doesn't have any impact on the neighbors. I do have, and unfortunately because I'm out of town, I do have 3 letters of support, which I did not get into the committee in time, but they're from 174, 158, and 145 Dorney. They have no opposition to it. Based on the changes from the original application, which was approved by the committee, I believe the extension of the width of the garage is certainly minor in its nature, certainly still complies with the official plan, meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. In fact, it's only over by about 80 square feet in terms of the allowable garage. And I think still results in a desirable construction piece that certainly is in conformance with providing some stepping on the side yards towards a 1-story house, and the house that's beside it on the left is a 2-story house, but that relates to a previous variance. But I did, just to be sure, I did list that same variance in this application, so there was no confusion at the building permit time, so that we had one variance from one application and it wasn't mentioned in the second one, so I put them all together in this one. So, but it is not any different than from the original application approved. So that, Madam Chair, I'll leave it open to questions. I think there's nothing that I've heard from any neighbors other than support. I know planning's in support. Certainly I support their conditions of approval. So
very well. Any questions of Mr. Hicks at this time, or items of clarification? Okay, I see none. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Dick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just make a note. Usually I'm kind of fussy about side yard setbacks. And when I first saw this, or saw the notes anyhow, I sort of put the star there. But I just want to comment, the side yard does abut to the rear yard of the adjacent house to the south, which is a check mark, a good thing. And your garage sort of appears to be a 1.5 story or 1 story garage. You don't have a 2 story structure there. So that was enough to turn my negative thoughts against the side yard situation. So having said that, I'm satisfied that the variances are minor in nature and conforms to the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and I put forth a motion that the application is applied for be approved, subject to the conditions that the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated October 6th, 2025, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision. The building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Any discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved. None opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Take care.
Application 158 of 2020. Am I reading this right? 2024? Or is that a typo?
Madam Chair, that's a typo.
Okay, thank you. Application 158 of 2025 at 298 Douglas Avenue. Again, that's application 158 of 2025 at 298 Douglas Avenue. I have Mr. Imran Khan as the agent.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Khan. Go ahead.
My name is Imran Khan, and I'm the authorized agent. So my address is 2237 Colonel William Parkway, Oakville, and the property address is 298 Douglas Avenue. So we are proposing deck and plus covered pergola or gazebo, you can say, in the backyard. So this is RL3-0 zone SP10. The allowed lot coverage is 19%, and the proposed lot coverage is 21.28%. So we are over only 2.28%, and I believe this variance is minor in nature. So I would like to request the committee member to approve this one. Thank you.
Any questions or items of clarification on Mr. Khan? Okay, I see none. Who would like to move a motion? Ms. Price, go ahead.
Taking into consideration the agent's presentation and the reports by the agent and staff, as well as there being no letters of opposition, I believe the variance to be minor in nature. As the proposed gazebo and deck will be located within the rear backyard, there will be no massing impacts on the adjacent properties and no adverse impacts to the abutting neighbors. Based on this information, the application appears to meet the 4 standards of the Planning Act. I recommend the application be approved subject to the following conditions: that the proposed deck and gazebo be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevations dated September 5th, 2025, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Seeing none, all those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Application 054 of 2025 at 845 Burloak Drive. Again, that's application 054 of 2025 at 845 Burloak Drive. I have Mr. Vasily Sarantopoulos as the agent. Okay. Mr. Walk, you are doing the presentation?
Yes. My name
Okay,
is
go ahead.
Yep, my name is Justin Kwok. Thank you, Madam Chair and other members of the committee. I am representing IGP Realty Advisors, Inc. I'm a transportation consultant from BA Group, and I will be presenting this justification today.
Go ahead.
Yep. I prepared a presentation deck. Can I share it?
Have you sent it in to staff?
I believe my client have. I'm not sure.
Okay, so if they have it, they'll put it up, but there's no way for you to share your screen right now. If we don't have the presentation, they won't be able to post it.
Okay.
Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you confirm?
We have the supporting documents that are on the screen right now.
Okay, so it seems that they don't have your presentation. Can you proceed without it?
Yeah, I can do that. It's fine. So this is the site plan. The variance we're asking for is it relates to the drive-through lane that you see on the plan here. If we can zoom in a little bit to the building you see on the site. Yes, thank you. So a comparison of the site plan with the existing site would show that everything is the same except for the drive-through lane that's being put in here, and the new A&W drive-through restaurant that's about 72 square meters large, and it has no real internal seating area. It's mainly just a drive-through. So that's what's being proposed. The zoning bylaw requires a total of 10 stacking lane spaces. Stacking lane spaces is essentially the number of spaces that's supported in that drive-through aisle that you see. So currently the total is 8 that is in the lane that it can support. So that's variance 1 that's being asked for. The second variance is there's a second requirement that there would be 7 stacking lane spaces from the ordering station. So if we can further zoom in to the site plan. So it's slightly hard to see, but you see there's a little slightly little box right beside the 5th car from the entry of the drive aisle. So it would be
across from the patio area?
Yes, exactly. So right there, there's like a little machine there. That's basically where you would make your order for the A&W burgers and stuff. So the zoning bylaw requires 7 spaces from that spot. So that's what is required. And as you see here, there's only 5. So that's the second variance that's being asked. One context of this site is if we scroll up to Wycroft that it takes access to on the north side, this street will become right now east of here. It dead ends at a retail plaza center. So in the future, it will then extend all the way to Bronte Road to the further to the east. So one of the key things in the comments is that this road will get more busy. We have, in our transportation study, looked at after this roadway is extended, how it might change the traffic flows. And we've compared the traffic, the 4-hour traffic during the peak hours, AM, PM, and Saturday, at basically the extension of this road further west, where it's already continuous. And we note that the growth in traffic there, east-west is about 100% higher than the traffic that's currently at Wycroft at this point where it dead ends. So essentially, under future conditions, the traffic eastbound may double during each peak period. Under existing conditions, the traffic conditions east-west, eastbound is in the order of 550, 1300, and 1300 again during the AM, PM, and Saturday peak hours. Why that matters is the demand for the drive-through and the queuing there is dependent on how busy the adjacent roadways are, because that's what feeds into the demand for the drive-through. So BA Group has done some queuing and demand studies at other A&W locations around the GTA, and we have noted that the maximum queues at these locations at any point in the day, weekdays and weekends, is in the order of 5 vehicles. And this is 5 vehicles from the ordering station. And at these sites, these proxy sites, the adjacent traffic flow at these sites range from 1,500 all the way to over 3,000 in terms of the adjacent traffic that it would absorb traffic from. And if we look back at the traffic that the current site has, I said it's in the order of 550 to 1,300. If we double that, that would bring it to about 1,100 to give or take 3,000, just under 3,000. So essentially what I'm saying is the maximum queue that this site will be expected to have will be less than all those other proxy sites that we have studied, which is 5 or less. So our proposal here, if we scroll back down a little bit, thank you. You can see that from the ordering station, there are 5, enough space to support 5 cars from the ordering station and 3 additional cars from the pickup, which is what the bylaw would require if we look at the difference between the total and the amount of spaces from the ordering station that the bylaw needs. And so in my professional opinion, we think that this setup and provision of stacking lane spaces can support the expected demands of this site.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roth. Any questions or items of clarification? The site will have 2 drive-throughs proceeding in tandem on this location.
What do you mean by 2 drive-throughs?
Because you still have the drive-through into the car wash, right?
Yes, that's a separate drive-through.
Yeah, so if you don't think that that's going to be a lot at the same time?
No, we've also studied what the expected number of queuing at a car wash is. And out of all the car washes we have studied in, again, across those same sites at a gas bar, we saw 6 queued up in the car wash lane. if we go back into that site plan that we were sharing, there are space for 10 there, so it won't interfere with one another.
Okay.
And I should also note that for the car wash, that lane that you see there, that's the same as existing, so it already functions.
Okay. It just seems like there's a lot going on. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or items of clarification? Mr. Hardcastle, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I ask the Secretary Treasurer to put up the site plan again? Mr. Kwok, I was looking for a little bit of, along the same lines as the chair was asking about. Have you done, or is the ownership group done any kind of an analysis about the alignment of the peak use for the two drive-throughs? Do they tend to line up the peak use on site with like you're talking about peak traffic patterns, but you're also really need to understand in terms of the functioning of the site and potential conflict points. It strikes me that I'd like to understand a little bit more about whether the the gas station use, the restaurant use, and the car wash have aligned peak use. And could I ask the Secretary Treasurer to please get that plan up while we wait for Mr. Kwok to respond?
Hi, thank you for the question. We have studied this, and in our traffic study, we have looked and conducted 12-hour counts on a Friday and a Saturday at the site driveways, and we've observed also the existing car wash drive-through to kind of ascertain what you're asking is like the temporal variation. So we've assessed the temporal variation for these discrete uses on the site. So I should know that they may overlap, but in general, the A&W, it actually peaks during lunchtime, during lunch hours. And at that point, people don't really do their car wash at that time, or it would be the same person doing both. So in that manner, it doesn't really overlap. For the car wash, it's generally flat throughout the day. It doesn't really spike at any time, but like if anything, it would only spike more so during the weekend than the weekday. That's the only real difference.
Madam Chair, additional question, follow up, just in terms of, it appears to me that there's the three uses come together in this one spot. Folks coming, I guess that would be northbound on,
it would be Whitecroft on the north, and then what's on the west would be Burloak.
Yeah, on Burloak. Thank you. It's been a long day. Northbound on Burloak, turning in. I see that there's a relatively deep throat to the entrance there before there's a decision point, right?
Yeah.
So, in your professional opinion, do you feel like if there were a situation where you'd end up with a conflict at the 2 points of the two different drive-throughs, that it would adversely impact both either the gas station, the vehicles going enter into the gas station, or result in any backup queues entering onto the road?
We designed it this way so that there's that deep clear float distance to actually avoid that exact case that you were talking about. And in our studies, we've already noted that the queuing that's expected at the both drive-throughs is not anticipated to get to that extent where it reaches out from, I guess, where the arrow is showing. So to answer your question, no, we don't anticipate that to be an issue. And if there is at that 99th percentile queuing of 5 vehicles at the A&W, then that's the maximum we've seen anywhere, then they can like loop around, park, and then go in and get their food. Anyways.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
Anyone else have questions? I can't see if we can pan out. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Talski, and then Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trying to assess the impact, if any, of the two less spaces in the drive-through queue that you're looking for. And staff report indicates you're required to do a queuing analysis. The only information that was provided to the committee was a memo that, as I read it, indicated you don't need to do a queuing analysis, and the only thing that was looked at was in case somebody's waiting for an order, they can go park somewhere. But the staff report specifically referenced the queuing analysis for conflict with other vehicle movements on the site, and I've seen nothing that was looked at. And my question, my concern is twofold. If there were 10 cars in the queue, which as required by the current zoning bylaw, and those last two cars are blocking the entrance to the car wash drive-through, and they're blocking the lane between the gas pumps and the building, what happens with all the other traffic on the site? And in line with Mr. Hardcastle's question, does it start to back up onto Burl Oak Drive? And I guess my second question is, did you only look at I'm going to call best case A&W, or did you look at a range of stacking based on uses? Because we don't approve things based on users, we approve based on land use. And as someone who worked for 21 years in an office building with a Tim Hortons drive-through in the parking lot, I could say without reservation that that would be backed up onto Burl Oak Drive every day. So I don't feel like you've given me enough information to understand that if you got 10 cars, as the zoning bylaw suggests, or more, what happens with all the other movements on the site? Because it's all coming in and half of it's going out, or possibly more than half's going out the same entrance.
So to answer your question, do you have I'm not sure if the committee has our first, because we made two submissions. Our original submission contains the actual queuing study. And the second submission elaborated on it. And so I was wondering if you have access to the first study. Because you were asking if we conducted the queuing study, and the answer is yes, we did. And this, pardon?
It's okay, go ahead, and then I'll ask you my question.
Okay, and so the purpose of when I was trying to describe the studies at those other A&Ws earlier, when I talked about what their traffic demand is and their adjacent street level traffic, I was basically letting you know that we've done queuing studies at these other proxy A&W locations that span a wide range of location contexts, some on even more busy arterial roads, such as along Highway 7, Highway 27. And even at all those busier locations, AM, PM, and Saturday, at any point in the day, the maximum queue we've ever saw was 5 vehicles. So we're saying we've provided enough for 5 vehicles behind the ordering station, and that's sufficient to accommodate the demands that an A&W would see. And it is known in the industry that an A&W versus a coffee shop like Tim Hortons, they're very different. So they would generate different levels of traffic. Like a Tim Hortons is actually a much busier than an A&W. At another site that we are working on, we're actually taking out a Tim Hortons and putting in a A&W drive-through, and it actually accrued less traffic than existing because of that.
So in the reverse, because Petro-Canada has two food partners, A&W and Tim Hortons, if you kicked out A&W, to use your words, and put in a Tim Hortons, would your current traffic analysis still be valid for a Tim Hortons?
No, it would need to change.
Thank you.
Did the traffic analysis include the various train times? Because I can tell you, driving down Burloak all the time, if you've got all these cars stacked and a train hits, that's chaos because there's backed up traffic, there's people that are trying to get out. Like, I'm just seeing it in my head right now, the way it would be.
We have collected data throughout the whole day, but we have not specifically looked at the train, like the period of train arrival, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at lunch times or dinner times when people are getting off and people are getting out, and now with this construction on Burloak where everything is expanding, it's going to be a nightmare for traffic.
We've looked at the peak periods that were already observed at the site driveway. So whichever hours that are the busiest, those are the hours we've already looked at.
Okay, Mr. Dickey, go ahead. I took your turn. I apologize. And then I'll get to the Hardcast. I saw your hand going up.
Just on the train thing, I don't know how close the GO train station is relative to this site.
About 500 meters.
Oh, yes.
I can tell you for certain.
Yeah.
I drive that road all the time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to say, no, they're building an underpass.
It's not a real station, though. Like, they haven't built a station on Burloak yet, but the train stops, like, the traffic because of the, what do they call them? The barriers.
The gates,
yeah, the gates.
Yeah.
The gates.
But they're building, isn't that what that construction is? They're building a bridge under.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to be later on. It's a huge undertaking, and we're getting information about it slowly. But the closest one that people drive off and on would be Bronte and Appleby. But it definitely runs through Burloak and cuts the whole intersection from that part to the south. And during traffic, it's going to be a lot.
Okay, my real question related to, as Mr. Klosky said, related to the type of use.
Yes.
Just like we've been talking about, a Tim's versus an A&W or equivalent type of food distributor. So I guess my question would be, well, maybe point out a few things to see if I'm thinking right. If I'm going southbound down Burloak and I want to go into that A&W, I would have to turn eastbound on Whitecroft and go in that way. I wouldn't be able to go down to the driveway on the west side and get in because I'm assuming there was a medium down there. Yes. Okay. And if I'm going westbound on Whitecroft, I can't even get to your site. I can't turn in from Whitecroft. I can't make the left-hand turn and go southbound to Burloak. I can't get in there. Okay. Yep. So having that said, is that a suitable site for Tim's, or because of that, it might not be a suitable site for Tim's? That's what I'm leading up to. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Okay.
Because access isn't great from all.
More restricted. Yes. It's like right in, right out. Yes.
So my concern, just like we're saying, if this were to become a Tim's, we would have a concern, or I shouldn't pick on Tim's. I mean, a donut shop or some other type of food service that is much more focused for certain times. Like we see stacking lines are just crowded when people go for their breakfast. Not the same, don't get me wrong, I realize what you say with being an A&W or another type of use. So I guess I go back to my original question, if you understood it. is this site a suitable site for another type of use such as a Tim's, or because of the access concerns, it might not be reasonable to, might not be a suitable site.
I can't speak to Tim's because, but currently the confirmed, I guess, quick service restaurant partner is A&W. They are the ones that are signing the lease to be in here.
Okay. Okay. Just another thing. So there's a patio. Although nobody can eat inside, I could go and drive in, get my hamburger through the window, and then walk and sit down in that little patio area just beside the line there, the lane.
Yes. Or you could, after getting gas, you could park, walk in, grab a burger, and sit in the patio if you so want to.
Yeah.
You could also do that.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thanks.
I want to stress that there is a interaction between getting gas and getting the burger. So these activities tend to interact so that the same person is both getting gas and getting a burger. So then the traffic is actually reduced when you do that. So it's not two separate persons doing two separate things. It's actually the same person.
I'm not swayed by that argument because the closest A&W in this region is on Appleby North of the QEW. So I don't know of another A&W anywhere up until like third line or Dorval. I don't think there is one, to be honest. So if we're putting one here, the chances are this is going to be, if people are for lovers of A&W, a prime spot to come to. So I'm not swayed by that argument at all. If anything, a business is a business. You're putting it in there because there's a need for it. So it's got customers that are going to be coming to it, regardless of whether they're filling gas or not.
Or it could be capturing the people that are already there, such as the people already getting gas, and then they can piggyback off of it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Right. But today's variance is in relation to that 2 spaces in the drive-through lane, not whether or not an A&W is.
Yeah, but it speaks to how busy it's going to be and whether you need to actually go by the bylaw versus have the variance. You know, every argument is called into play with when you're asking for a variance. Why are we asking for it? Right? It's not just whether it's going to be popular or not. Like you wouldn't have done traffic studies, or you wouldn't have been required to do all these things to make sure that it would work. So respectfully, it does bear into the decision making.
Yep, I agree. And I just want to restate that we have looked at the demands at other A&Ws at busier roads than here, regional roads, and the maximum queue we saw was 5 any time in the day.
Okay. Any other questions or items of clarification? Mr. Dickey, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe just to ask the town planner or anyone else who can comment. In our conditions, we cannot stipulate in any way the use. Like, I don't necessarily say that it has to be an A&W, but just I'm concerned, just like I think Paul started hinging around, if it were to become something in the intensity of a Tim's, we might be having a problem. But if it's some other type of use compatible to an A&W, I don't know. This is what I feel. If it's some use like an A&W, I might not have as much of a concern or a problem. So I'm asking the planner, is there any way that we can incorporate anything into our conditions to put that little restriction on there, or is that beyond our control?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't see a concern with imposing a condition that the queuing spaces are approved on the basis that it is for an A&W restaurant. I do not see a concern with that approach.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr.
Oh.
Kowalski.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, just speaking from history, I'm not sure we can do that. But a approval based on a user, it's based on a use. If the committee were inclined to approve it, I believe we can put a time limit, which may, correspond with the length of the lease conveniently. And that way, if another user comes in at a certain period of time anyway, they would have to come back and get another variance.
Okay, Mr. Hardcastle, you had your hand up.
Madam Chair, I might suggest, along Mr. Tulowski's line of thinking, there's also the concept of a trial period. If this committee is concerned about things, I wonder whether there might be a willingness to explore this on a, if you will, whether it's a lease basis or a trial period where it can be evaluated. I know in my line of work, with the organization I work for, we often will put temporary approvals in place and put measure requirements in place to ensure that functionality is maintained, and if it is maintained and the findings of the analysis that were undertaken prove to be accurate, then it could be considered for a longer term approval. It might be worth considering if there are some reservations amongst the members that are here. I would, on that comment, state that we are seeking, there is a variance being sought for a reduction of 2 spaces, and there is a large throat to this entrance here, where there is a large unprescribed use area in the confluence of the turning point from to the gas pumps / C-store to the restaurant stacking lanes, and to the stacking lanes for the car wash. And I think we've heard some evidence about commonality amongst customers between the C-store, gas station, or I'm sorry, I don't mean to put words in the agent's mouth, but I think we heard some evidence about commonality between the gas customers and the restaurant customers. And I'm assuming that there's probably some commonality between the gas customers and the car wash customers. I think some of these things provide, at least in my mind, some amelioration or some accommodation for the reservations that I initially had when hearing this. So when time comes, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to put forward a motion to at least engage the conversation on a go-forward basis. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Dickey, you had another comment?
I do. I just was thinking, Mr. Pulaski said about, or one of us about putting a temporary approval relative to the length of the lease, which would possibly address my concern. I'm just thinking from the landlord's point of view, okay, the AW has a 5-year lease, and we can say the 5-year lease, whatever the dates are, but then when that 5 years is up and A&W still wants to stay, they would have to come back and get another variance from us, I assume. Is that fair to the landlord? I guess it's fair if the option is that we're going to say no, but maybe even for the owner's consultant, just maybe just any comments on this matter of a temporary approval or anything like that? Does the owner's agent have anything, or would you like to wait till Mr. Talowski had some more comments to that?
I can wait until all the comments,
Okay.
and then I can maybe answer them all. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know about the lease term, because if there is a problem, then we're stuck with it for the lease term. But I kind of like the idea of a temporary or a trial basis that Mr. Hardcastle is proposing, because then you can reassess when you're hit with the reality of the numbers and the traffic and everything else. But we'll have to wait and see what the remainder of the committee feels like. So anyone else has anything to say, and then we'll give go ahead, Mr. Taos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kwok, it just seems to me that this site plan is not very well thought out. And without understanding if the geometry works, did you look at the option of putting in a horseshoe, basically, with the entrance coming in at the exit, beside the exit to the car wash, and then looping around in behind and getting rid of all the potential conflict by doing so?
Do you mind sharing the site plan, and just can we use a cursor to like loop around what you mean by that? Just so I'm clear.
Yeah, we can't
just
use
because we have looked at various iterations, our design team, and trust us, like we went through a lot of iterations.
It just, without, again, admitting not knowing, the turning movements and exactly how they fit, but if where the exit of the car wash is, you made that the entrance right beside it, between where you're showing the exit of the car wash and the exit of the drive-through. If you started the drive-through at that spot, brought it down parallel to the car wash,
right,
and then looped it around behind the building, and so you'd end up with a U shape in there. Did you look at anything like that? Because in my mind, that would get rid of all these conflicts with the access and egress to Earl Oak Drive, the potential to block the access to the aisle between the gas pumps and the building, the potential to block the access to the car wash. Was that looked at, or is this is the way we designed these and that's what was done?
Do you mean putting the drive-through coming southbound?
Yes.
Adjacent to the car wash?
Right, and then looping
so
it
in that lane
north.
Currently that's two-way. That would mean the building would need to be pushed east, right? Because like if you're doing a drive-through, it needs to be connected to where you're picking up your food, and you'll be facing the wrong way, because when you're driving, you'll be on the left side, so you'll be like on the side touching.
Sorry, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I don't think you're understanding my question. Is if you put a U-shaped in there where you started southbound adjacent to the car wash and looped back north, that would put your driver on the same side. My question is if you looked at it, or was this the only design?
I still don't understand how that U would work. Can we annotate on this? Is there a way?
I don't think there is.
No, I don't think so.
That's fine, Madam Chair.
But we've looked at a U, basically where it currently enters and looping around. That doesn't quite work in spacing for the other operations that need to circulate on site. And so this was the only way where you can put all the maneuvers in that it would function.
All right, if there is nothing else, we can take the matter into committee. Okay, who would like to start the discussion in terms of a motion? Mr. Dickey, go ahead.
I'll take a
Yeah, you can take a stab at it, sure.
In regard to this discussions we've had and the comments from the consultants, the site plans, etc., my site visit, I am satisfied that the variances are minor in nature conform to the four tests of the Planning Act, and I put forth a motion that the application as applied for be approved subject to the conditions. Now, this is where I would like to insert something into the conditions on it to implement a temporary probationary period. So work on the wording, but I'll just, so our conditions are that the drive-through addition be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated 2025-09-11, the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development, and that the, how would we word it, that the approval expires after 5 years from the date of construction, and that, and then we got the second condition, the other condition, that the approval expires 2 years from the date. So we could, oh no, that's the approval. Just a second. I hadn't thought this through. So our normal second condition would be that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction. So that's true, but we also are approving and proposing we approve this on a temporary basis for 5 years. So I don't know if anybody else can help me with the wording there, or we leave it at something like that. Any comments to help there, or?
Mr. Hardcastle, you said that you wanted to chime in on this.
Madam Chair, to Member Dickey,
Yeah.
I had been thinking along two different lines, one being that we could actually modify the requested variance to be a temporary variance of a period of time. Okay. Or the other one is to add a third condition in that the variance expire within the identified period of time.
Yeah, tying it to the lease is too long. I think 5 years as an assessment is way too long.
And if I may put forward the other commentary, and this is just a friendly thought, is that it should be subject to performance evaluation upon renewal, or some kind of commentary like that is the basis in which you're doing it on.
That would be what, another study?
Would be happy to do like a monitoring study if that's what's required of us.
Subject to monitoring or what have you, but like for a 2-year period or 5-year period or whatever you're looking at, Mr. Dickey, subject, to evaluate and, and monitor.
What do you think, Mr. Dickey?
And I just asked the consultant, do you know how long the initial lease period is to the consultant?
I'm not sure myself. Like that's privy to the like my clients, like they're the ones that know. I would be guessing like in the order of 5 years. That's usually how.
Yeah, at the minimum. I mean, at the minimum. Yeah, that's how I'm getting. I thought it's. I understand the fact that we might be looking at a shorter time period because we'd be concerned if things go wrong. But from the tenant's point of view,
yes, they won't come in.
He's saying, "Oh gosh, no, I'm not putting all that money in, and I don't know what's going to happen after 2 years."
Yeah, please.
I mean, if business is good, it's often actually the opposite. I want business to be good, but that's going to cause a problem. You know, it could not necessarily backfire. So that's where I'd be concerned about making it that short. At least making it. We should, if we're going to put a temporary approval, I think we should make it 5 years, and probably should be 5 years from the date of occupancy, just to clarify things. Something there. If that's. Anyways, that's my comments. Thank you very much. Just okay, so I am on the conditions or the restrictions again. We would add that the approval expires 5 years from the date of occupancy. Would that be all we need to add? Does anybody have, that would be enough wording to cover off what I'm thinking anyhow, I don't know what everybody else is thinking. So there's my motion.
May I ask a question, Ashley?
Go ahead, Mr.
So when the variance expires after 5 years, we'll have to make a new variance. If during because we have to monitor it, if in the monitoring period we can show that it works, then would that be our evidence in the next, I guess, minor variance application?
I would suppose so. Miss Knight, sorry, Miss McKnight, do you have any comments to that question?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat that question?
Yes. So currently the approvals requirement is that it's for a lease of, the variance lasts for 5 years. And it sounds like we'll have to have a monitoring period or study that goes along with it. So if during this 5-year window, in our monitoring studies, we can show that it functions well, it operates as designed, with no queue backing up, then when we document that, is that our evidence in the renewal of after 5 years when we had to do a second, I guess, minor variance? Because it sounds like if it expires, we'll have to ask for it again, and hopefully this time we can make it permanent. Is that the process?
Yes, so through you, Madam Chair, we could put in something in the nature of 5 years from the issuance of final site plan approval, and include the file number, and also include clauses in the site plan agreement for the monitoring. And then if everything is okay, then we would come back in after 5 years for another variance.
Okay. Do you want to provide this wording now so that it can be documented, or you would do it later?
Through you, Madam Chair, the wording for the condition?
Yes.
I would think we have to do that, provide that now. I have to put that condition in now. We can't come along later. Or have the planning department come along later.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, the condition would need to be included now. And the wording I will pull up the site plan number that we can utilize for the condition here. So it would be 5 years from the issuance of final site plan approval. File number 1635.033-01.
Right.
And with respect to the monitoring?
So we would have 5 years to monitor. So we could, through you, Madam Chair, it could be that the approval expires 5 years from the date of final site plan approval, SP 1635.033-01, and that the site plan agreement include clauses for monitoring of the queuing lanes.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. I thought the issuance is for 5 years from occupancy, or did I hear wrong earlier?
That's what I wanted to say, occupancy, not the date of the building plans. I would go for 5 years from the date of occupancy. That's when the lease is. The lease is going to be 5 years from, assumingly 5 years from the date of occupancy, not 5 years from whatever happens to the town of Oakville planning department. So that would be my position. 5 years from the date of occupancy, and whatever the site plan and everything else is, I don't think that wouldn't come into play on what I'm putting forward.
Through you, Madam Chair, there would be no concerns with using the wording occupancy instead. Or, yeah, 5 years occupancy is not a concern.
The other thing on the monitoring, wouldn't that be a given that when they come back, because they're going to have to come back to a committee of adjustment, so they would have to come back and hire a consultant again in theory and show us that this has worked for them. And so I don't know, does that need to be a condition is what I'm getting at. It would only be illogical, but 5 years from now, it would only be logical that they come back and they do a study and say, oh, look, this worked out perfectly. Yeah, look, give us another 5 years or let us go, whatever. So that would be my thought, that we don't have to put that into the condition now. But again, I'm open to anybody else's thoughts on that matter.
Mr. Tarowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to speak to Mr. Dickey's question there, I think the difference is if you put in a monitoring requirement, the data when they come back is based on this actual site. If you don't put a monitoring requirement, the data you'll get the next time is we use these comparable sites and this is what we found. So if the concern is about this particular site, I think you're better off maintaining your condition that has the site plan agreement is going to require monitoring.
I agree with that comment, yes. Okay, now I have to come up with all the wording.
Well, Ms. McKnight had written it out perfectly for you,
Oh,
but
good.
you weren't very amenable to it. So now we're going to have to take another crack at it.
And the secretary treasurer, write that down so you can read it all back to us. You know, we're doing. Is that all right? Secretary treasurer and Ms. McKnight.
Sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair. Would the final and last condition please be repeated?
Oh, yes, we're definitely going to repeat it. Don't worry. We haven't settled on it yet. But at least Mr. Dickey has to be amenable to it. So, Ms. McKnight, do you want to read it one more time? I have it written, but I just want to be sure that I've got the agreement number and everything correctly.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I believe the third condition would be that the approval expires 5 years from the date of occupancy, and that the site plan agreement SP 1635.033-01 include clauses for monitoring of the queuing lanes from the date of occupancy for a period of 5 years.
Okay.
Yes, I like that.
Good. All right. Thumbs up. Very good.
Okay with that. Or well, I don't mean that. Any addition, revisions to that from anybody else, I'm open to. Otherwise, we'll put forth that motion based upon those conditions, and if the Secretary Treasurer has that wording correct or at least recorded, that's great. So,
okay, so we've got that. Madam Secretary Treasurer, you've got that.
I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so based on this discussion and those three conditions that we've already read into record, all those in support? Okay. All right, and the chair abstains. Okay, so the motion has passed, and those are the three conditions that are set before you. Your application has been approved.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Chair, and the rest of the committee members. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great, wonderful night.
Thanks, you too. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, this was the last application on our agenda tonight. I have confirmation of minutes for November the 11th. Mr. Hardcastle, thank you. And motion to adjourn. Thanks, Ms. Price. Motion adjourned, 9:06. We are adjourned.